Okay, so now we're to 17C. Explain the social and political impact of widespread unemployment that resulted in developments such as Hoovervilles. Okay, really what I'm asking you to do, what the standard is asking you to do, you know what the Great Depression is. You understand the economic cycle of capitalism, that there's growth, there's peak, there's contraction, recession, and then there's your depressions. Okay, so the higher up you go, the less unemployment you have. People are spending money, businesses are making money. Then you start to drop down, people are losing jobs, they're not spending as much money, and businesses are failing. Okay, farms have been failing, you've got the Dust Bowl, so people are migrating to find work. Okay, so what's the social impact and the political impact? All these people who are unemployed. Okay, we're going to look at the development of Hoovervilles and shanty towns and why they call them Hoovervilles. Okay, so Herbert Hoover was president of the United States when the stock market crashed until about 1933. Americans across the country blamed Hoover for the Great Depression. 25% of the labor force was unemployed at this point. 2 million people were homeless and migrating around the country. Children were malnourished. I mean, if you don't eat, your body's not getting the nutrition that it needs and you're unhealthy, okay? Teenagers are even sent away to take care of themselves when families they don't have any more money to feed any more mouths. So they send them away and tell teenagers, go take care of yourself. Remember that picture of Migrant Mother? Those children are too small to send them off on their own, but with older children that can go get a job and find food for themselves, you kind of just sent them away. It was a very sad time. People that are being laid off from work, again, there's some racial disparity here. Blacks are typically laid off before whites were, okay? And eventually, people are losing homes because they don't have jobs to pay for them. They can't pay the loans off. You have nowhere to live, so you've got to make some kind of shelter. Well, it's not like you can just run down to Academy Sports or Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a tent. Okay, people had to make shelters from what they could find, and it might be sheets of aluminum or steel. It might be cardboard. It might be crates. Anything you could find to build some kind of shelter from the elements, and to give yourself or your family some privacy. They're called Hoovervilles. Well, President Hoover, they blamed him for it, so they call this horrible state of living Hoovervilles or shanty towns. All right. Hoover tried to bring some relief to the American public, but it was too little too late. All right. Here's an example of some Hoovervilles and shanty towns. If you notice, here's a family here, the little kid, and they've just kind of whatever materials they could find and scrounge up, they made themselves a little shelter. Okay. And if you can imagine just kind of living out there, not being able to lock doors, not being able, you don't have anything that you own, just what you have on your back, right? And, multiply this by hundreds and thousands, and here are all these. So this is Hooverville, U.S. Mail, okay? Gives you kind of an idea of what life was like. I mean, you don't have indoor plumbing, you don't have a bathroom, you don't have a shower, you don't have a place to store food and keep it refrigerated or preserve it. All right. I mean, it was a very, very sad time. We still have people that live like this today. Definitely not on the grand scale that we did during the 1929 Great Depression, but, we still do have people that live like this today. Okay. And because people blamed Hoover for the Great Depression. All right. Now, I'll give you an example. I wanted to show you some electoral college maps. You've seen those with the Trump and Biden election. Hoover loses the election of 1933. Here's Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, and his wife Eleanor Roosevelt. But why did Hoover lose the election? Well, okay, Hoover's a Republican. Franklin Roosevelt is a Democrat. They blamed Hoover for the Great Depression. That's why. And the American public didn't see Hoover being able to pull them out of it. And just to give you an idea, Roosevelt got about 57% of the popular vote. But here's the electoral college map, 2 for the election. And then here's the next year. If you notice, those reds dwindle even more, and we're pretty much a blue nation at that point.